um, of their case, which is fight that we have. And they said that he was correct. It was a lot of funny things that happened with the evidence. If you're not aware, um, there's been clips. There was four cameras in the gym, and
We sorry, we have Jackie joining right now too.
hey, Jackie, welcome.
But she's joining right now.
Hey, Jackie. Thank you for making it onto the call. We really appreciate your time, and you've been waging, a serious fight for about 8 years now, and we'd like to, get a little more information and let people know what it's really like when you're up against the system and when you're fighting for your loved ones. So again, thank you, Jackie, for being on.
Thank y'all for having me.
Yes, ma'am. So I was before you joined, I was getting into some of the details, but I think it'd be best if I let you, give you the mic and let you speak about what you find's important, and then maybe we'll get some questions from the audience for clarity. So yeah, wherever you would like to start, Queen, and really appreciate you being on tonight with us.
Thank you. I'll just say, it's been a journey. It's been 8 long years, and the battle haven't been easy. Um, I'll just tell all the people that if you know your fight while you're in this fight, continue to fight. I mean, no matter what they say, don't give up because we have fought several different entities. The GBI, the FBI, the police department, the city and the county, and the justice system is not built for us at all. You just have to continue to fight. For your loved ones, just never give up because, who'd have thought 8 years later they'd have been reopening Kendrick's case. Every
Yeah.
angle and every position that we've ever been in, they shut it down and they closed it. But we didn't give up. We stayed the course and we continued to fight for Kendrick because Kendrick life mattered. No matter how they feel, how they try to dehumanize your child, or how they try to portray in them their character and all this, I didn't let none of that worry me because I know Kendrick's life matter, and I'm going to continue to let people know that Kendrick's life matter. The fight is not over; it's only just began, and I'm here to stay. I keep telling them they messed around and killed the wrong child this time because the Johnson family ain't going nowhere. We demand justice. We demand accountability to help for the people that killed my child and the people that's trying to allegedly help cover it up. We're going to continue to fight them. A tape came out and we're waiting for the authentication of that tape. And we're still pushing because, they could come back and say anything, whether or not, whatever they found, but we're going to continue to fight. We're going to continue to apply pressure, and we're going to keep it in the news and the media so they'll begin to do the right thing. And that's the only way that we're going to get some kind of justice. You got to keep it out there. Like, you have to keep, like, I've been keeping Kendrick's name out there for 8 years. I constantly tell people about Kendrick. I constantly, put him out there on every social media site that I can get him on. I want the world to remember Kendrick. when you pass by also, or you at a rally, say Kendrick name, let them know that Kendrick Johnson, he went to school in Valdosta, Georgia, and was found dead, rolled up in the gym mat. Let the people know, like, so many cases that you don't even hear not one word about. It's a shame that how many of our sisters and brothers are our siblings and done lost their lives and no one knows nothing about it.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, me personally, I mean, I've been following it since 2013. It was very impactful. I mean, there was just so many things in this that were wrong, and I mean, I can't fathom anything else besides a cover up. So for the people who may not know about the Kendrick Johnson case, is there any way? I know that it was reopened, and I want to be sensitive to the fact that I don't want to pull out information that I don't know how that goes. A lot of times they you can't say certain things, but is there any way that you can walk the viewers through what the unfortunate happening of what happened to Kendrick, his murder?
On January the 10th, 2013, Kendrick didn't come home from school. They found his body on January the 11th, rolled up in a gym mat. They said Kendrick fell into a gym mat, got stuck, stayed there, and died from position of asphyxiation. They said he was trying to reach the bottom of a floor where he knew he couldn't reach and get a tennis shoe. And the sheriff called it accidental death from day one, without even the autopsy being brought by. So, he had already made his judgment of what he was going to call Kendrick's murder anyway. So after the first autopsy came back April 2013, a couple of months, they deemed it as accidental position asphyxiation, and they closed the case right then and there. So, and after a while, in I want to say June, the Department of Justice got Kendrick case and started working on it. And we also had 2 more autopsies done. And the second one came back and it was blunt force trauma. They found hemorrhaging in his neck from being struck with an object. And to also find out that they had took every one of Kendrick's organs from his brain all the way down to his pelvis, his tongue, his windpipe, his throat, his heart, his lungs, his kidneys, every internal organ in Kenny's body was missing. They gave us back a half a child. They didn't give me back my child. So then his clothes went missing on top of that. Fingernails got clipped on the scene. And the sheriff said they swept up nails, but they didn't bag them and tag them. So, they were already beginning to cover up from day one. So we had a third autopsy done because the second one, they still didn't do nothing about it. So, but the second autopsy went with what the EMT says. The EMT told us that it was bruising on his neck. They called it a homicide. But later on, they fired that EMT driver for saying that it was a homicide. They fired him. Oh yeah, it's been they fired him. So, and we had a third. We exhumed Kendrick's body for a third time, and the third time, the second and third autopsy went together as saying it was blunt force trauma. So we still been fighting since then, and with the autopsies coming back, they still didn't want to change what they were saying. So, it just turned into us having to fight and fight. They took blood samples from Kendrick that were on the blood splatters that was on the wall. They never done anything about that. Now, we owe $292,000 for a bounty. It makes me feel like it's supposed to be for court attorney fees, but it makes me feel like we got to pay the people that murdered my child. So we paid them to murder our child. That's what it feels like. So, and then they were so rude and try to play so arrogant. They put Kendrick autopsy pictures on the internet. So they thought that was gonna drive me and my husband crazy, but it just gave us the determination to push even harder to keep on fighting for Kendrick. They can be that nasty to put your child's dead body on the internet for you to see. And look, even still to now, it's like different photos are coming out. Photos that we haven't even seen of my son. And it hurts. It hurts like I don't know what, but it just makes you fight harder because they feel like they done got away with murder for so long that nothing's gonna never be done. But this one fight, we're not giving up on. We're gonna continue to fight this fight.
And we really thank you for fighting, because when families hold their ground and really stand up to this system, it gives so many other families in other places the strength, you know what I mean, to continue their fights. But you said something about the evidence, and is it true that there was well, when I was looking through some of like the photos that the police were taking, I did notice that they weren't even they were wearing their regular shoes. It was like a contaminated, a crime scene, like almost like they didn't give him, his due process, what he deserved, like, you know what I mean? And for me, there was also shoes and a Hollister sweatshirt that was found but wasn't tagged, and you brought up the blood on the wall and they didn't even test it. So was that the same sheriff, Chris Pine? Was that Chris Pine, who was running that investigation?
Yes, that's who's running the investigation. He's not in office anymore, but that's who was running the investigation.
Okay. And with it happening in school, it's just so mind-boggling that this can happen to a child in school where he's seeking his education. And they said that they were cooperating with the Georgia FBI, but there's been some things like released, like saying that maybe the FBI was kind of involved in the cover-up, being how one of the children's parents was a high-ranking government official.
Yes, the two boys that they sent target letters to, they are the sons of an FBI agent. He was working as an FBI agent till after Kendrick got killed. Then they made him retire. They allegedly made him retire.
And so there was like 4 cameras, and this is the part that is really disheartening to me. There's 4 cameras that record motion, right, in the gym, and the first camera went off at 12:04 and didn't come back on for an hour and 5 minutes. The second camera, same thing, 2 hours, and then the third camera, 2 hours. Is there anything you can speak to that, because that's been something where I think a lot of people are trying to figure out what happened? Or
with those cameras, those people turned those cameras off because the first time you get in, you see where people are walking in the gym trying to find see what's going on, and then the next time you see the cameras come back on, it's when they're taking Kendrick out on the. So you mean to tell me the whole while they're investigating, the cameras don't work? But soon as they get through with doing whatever they done, set up the crime scene, you mean to tell me when they hauling Kendrick out on the gurney, the cameras come back on?
Yeah, I mean, it's obvious to me that it's a cover up, but I've been watching like the progression of your fight, and I noticed that you put the demand on whoever was in office. I was brutalized by the police, and the district attorney didn't help me at all. I know that you had contact with Loretta Lynch. I believe that she said it was like her top 3 domestic priorities to figure out what happened to Kendrick KJ Johnson. Was she helpful at all?
Again?
Was Loretta Lynch, was she helpful in your case, like, at all?
We heard from the same thing that you said, that he was in the top 3 percentile, but after a while, when it came back, the next thing that we heard was that they were closing the case. Now, she said that Kendrick was a top priority. We don't know what happened, but we did hear that somebody allegedly called and told them to shut that case down. So I don't know, I know she wasn't any help to us. That I do know.
She hasn't been help to many of us in this fight. I can't think of one that is actually willing to stand in that corner with her. So at this time, if it's okay with you, there was a video put together. If we could just play that, and then maybe we'll come back to some questions or anything you would like to talk about. Okay. Thank you, Jose. You can go ahead and roll the video.
Yeah, if everyone wants to turn on their speaker view, that way we can all get the same audio.
More now of our exclusive investigation into the death of Kendrick Johnson. Specifically, what school surveillance video can tell us about how he died and what's missing from it. Again, here's Victor Blackwell.
CNN has hired Grant Fredericks and his team at Forensic Video Solutions to analyze the hundreds of hours of surveillance from Lowndes High School.
More now of our exclusive investigation into the death of Kendrick Johnson. Specifically, what school surveillance video can tell us about how he died and what's missing from it. Again, here's Victor Blackwell.
CNN has hired Grant Fredericks and his team at Forensic Video Solutions to analyze the hundreds of hours of surveillance from Lowndes High School. Although he does not believe the jumpy video is the result of editing, he says there are some other major problems.
Those files are not original files. They're not something that an investigator should rely on for the truth of the video. They've been altered in a number of ways, primarily in image quality, and likely in dropped information loss. There are also a number of files that are corrupted because they've not been processed correctly and they're not playable. So I can't say why they were done that way, but they were not done correctly and they were not done thoroughly. So we're missing information.
Fredericks says that's likely due to how investigators acquired the surveillance video.
Right now, what they've done is they have left it up to the school district to define what it is they want to provide the police. And I think that probably is a mistake.
According to Lowndes County Sheriff's Office incident reports, a detective watched a portion of the surveillance video the day Kendrick Johnson was found. Then he asked the school board's information technology worker for a copy of the surveillance video for the entire wing of the school with the old gym for the last 48 hours. 5 days later, that IT worker provided a hard drive, and according to the incident report, the detective verified it contained the requested surveillance video.
So the investigator's responsibility is to acquire the entire digital video recording system and then have their staff define what they want to obtain. You don't want somebody who might be party to the responsibility to make the decision as to what they provide the police.
And after hours of analysis, Fredericks questions whether Lowndes County Schools provided all of the surveillance video from the old gym to investigators.
There is a whole of time where none of the cameras provide any record that I've been provided.
Fredericks has all the camera angles and all the video released by the Lowndes County Sheriff's Office.
There are 4 cameras in the gym that records motion from when the lights turn on in the morning until when the lights are turned off at night, except for the area of interest.
The moments before Kendrick Johnson enters the gym. Look at what happens to the recordings from these 4 cameras in the gym. The time is recorded with the video. The first camera captures images from the start of the day until 12:04 p.m. Then, nothing. It picks up again at 1:09 p.m. There's consistent surveillance from the second camera until 11:05 a.m. Then it stops and picks up again more than 2 hours later at 1:15 p.m. The third camera also drops at 11:05 a.m. It picks up again at 1:16 p.m. And from the final camera, there's surveillance until 12:04 p.m., no recording for more than an hour, then it picks up again at 1:09 p.m.
I would absolutely expect there to be some record of that activity, and we don't have any here.
Here's why Fredericks would have expected the motion-activated system to record during that time. During that hour and 5 minutes, several students are seen walking into and out of the old gym from the surveillance camera just outside the gym door. We count 7 male students, and 3 of them walk into the gym within 3 minutes prior to Kendrick Johnson walking in.
I can't tell you whether there was no information recorded in the digital video system, or whether somebody made an error and didn't capture it, or whether somebody just didn't provide it.
When surveillance in the gym resumes at 1:09, we see just these few frames of Kendrick Johnson running in the gym. Here's that moment from all of the cameras in the gym, although there's a record from only 2, and the camera just outside the door. Notice, the hall camera timestamp appears to be 10 minutes behind, and there's no confirmation either time matches the exact time of day. It is the last time his image is captured on video. For the next hour, there are multiple gaps in the video surveillance in the gym.
And that is crucial. It's a really important time.
Well, it really is the only option to answer the question, really what happened.
And there's no video showing the initial discovery of a body in the gym. The next time we see Kendrick Johnson is the following day when he's being wheeled out of the gym in a body bag.
Do you believe it's a coincidence that that time period in the gym is missing?
Oh boy. Investigators are always suspicious and should be suspicious. And it's suspicious that that time period is not there. So yes, I would be suspicious. And until I have the digital video system in my hand, until I can say, or an investigator can say, everything is intact, this was what's recorded, I would still be highly suspicious of this.
In how they've been trying to stop you from ultimately getting justice for your son Kendrick.
Well, one of the ways they was trying to stop us is everything that we would file, they would send it back and say they had a problem, or even with the attorney fees, the $292,000, they expected that to stop us. You can't get what we ain't got, but ain't nothing that they can do gonna stop us from fighting for Kendrick. I mean, they can try any kind of way, because one thing I know, murder don't have a statute on, so I don't worry about, what they say. No matter how long it's been 8 long years, and we still here and we still fighting.
Man, I'm glad you are. Because that case got reopened. It'd be hard to imagine that they would just want to do this on their own. But I do believe someone on the call does have a question. Just one sec.
Hello. Hi, Miss Johnson. While hearing this story, I'm much curious about the judge in that case, Richard Porter.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know the history behind that judge?
I really don't, but I one thing I know, he was not for us. He had already made his decision by the time he got on that bench, because he slept the whole while that trial was going on, when we was in trial. So, either way, he didn't care. He said he read over the plea. He knew everything about the case. Well, you had already made your decision before we got in the courtroom. So, I mean, there was no need for us even sitting in the courtroom if you had already made your decision.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. So we did have another question come in. People are wondering, like, right, the system doesn't cannibalize itself. So people are wondering, why did this case be reopened? Was there like a specific reason that they decided to open it, especially after closing it,
Yeah. Well, we have a new sheriff in play. He's not the Chris Prime, he's Ashley Paul. But we went to the department, in Ohio. We went to the I forget who they were. But they were the high people, and Kendrick's case somehow had got moved all the way out of Georgia. It got moved all the way to Georgia, and we didn't know about it. So happened Marcus Coleman, he do a lot of speaking for us. He said we need to find out, what's going on with the case, why everything been so quiet. So he called up here to the DA, the district attorney here, where Kendrick case should have been in Georgia, and to find out Kendrick case, they didn't have nothing else to do with Kendrick's case here in Georgia. It had been moved all the way to Ohio. So myself, my husband, and Marcus Coleman got on the plane, and we went to speak with I forget this man's name. He's right. He said he was right next to Trump, but he did promise us that he would give us some answers, because all the questions we asked him, he had no answers to it, and he didn't even know why Kendrick case was moved up there. He said sometimes they do move him out of Georgia, but never waived a Georgia case. Kendrick got killed in Georgia, and you mean nothing? Nobody in Georgia have nothing to do with Kendrick case. It's all the way in Ohio. But I did ask him this question because one of the suspects played football in Akron, Ohio. So I asked him, did y'all move my son's case here because of that young man playing football in Ohio? Because there's no reason that Kendrick case should have been moved to Ohio all the way out of Georgia. We didn't know nothing about this.
Oh wow. That doesn't sound right at all. I mean,
no sense.
Is there anything that you would like to speak on? I don't want this to be so directed. You have the floor. To speak on whatever you would like.
Just Kendrick in general, just who he was. He was just the baby of our. He played 3 sports, so the lies that they told about him, like falling into the mat, getting stuck and all that. It just made no sense. Like I tell him all the time, if my son's shoes would have been in that mat, my son would have took those mats, slung those mats down on the floor, got his tennis shoes, and went on to class. Like, you come up with a theory, so you say now this was a theory, but it was just a whole lie to try to get the people to believe what y'all wanted, because y'all school was in trouble. The people in that school was in trouble because they didn't protect my son. Like they said, Kendrick didn't have no bruises on his face, but we all know that was a lie. I know everybody saw the pictures. Like they say, he had no bruises, no stab wounds, he wasn't shot. But then when you come back to scene, like they told so many different lies. Like Kendrick wasn't in 3rd block. Then again, they came back and told us he was in 4th block. Kendrick didn't have. Kendrick couldn't afford a locker. It was just so much.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, and then there's even more to it. But I mean, what was like the forensics, right? Because from what I saw, there was a shoe and a lot of blood. Um, was that did they even test it? I mean, the way that this whole investigation is going, I feel like I have to ask the question: did they even test that blood? And
they say they said it wasn't Kendrick blood, but they didn't test it for nobody else's blood. So
okay. And how's it on the ground? Like, have you been receiving help, or like is anybody like really stepped up for you, or are they still protesting? The people still coming out?
No, like the people been quit coming out in our city. Like it's just hush hush. Like we don't have nobody really standing with us. It's me and some of my family, but like for years I stood out on that corner protesting by myself. It was me and my mom. I didn't care. I'm my own army. I don't be worried about it. They be talking about we need numbers, and no, I'm my own army. I made a difference. I'm the first person in Valdosta to ever fight these people back. There has never in the city of Valdosta been a Black person to fight them back about a death. They'll pay them a little $10,000 and their family will go away. You can't put no bounty on Kendrick's head. Period. I want justice. I want the people that's killed my child held accountable. I don't just want to you to pay me a couple of dollars and I'm gonna just go away like it ain't never happened. This hurts me every day. I don't sleep. Some days I don't eat. Sometimes I overeat. It's just, you never know what you're going to get. So no, and to the mothers that are down and out, pick yourself up. We all fall down. We all get tired. We all get weary. But pick yourself up and get up and go fight for your child. Because if you don't fight for your child, nobody else will. You're their voice. To the mothers and fathers. I always just say the mothers because it's so over 50% of them, of us that are fighting, are women.
Right.
Like, it's everybody to get out there and make a difference, because if we don't stand up, if we don't begin to get in solidarity, we ain't gonna never make no change. They can change laws and they can change this, but we as people got to stand together. And that's where we fall short of. This person want to be a leader, that person want, everybody can't lead. Sometimes we got to stand back and follow. Like if a mother asks you this about her child's case, please respect that. Or if a father asks you this, we got to learn to respect that and go with what those parents want.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm really sorry.
May I just jump in just quickly? Wow. Miss Johnson, within, the near future, tomorrow, today, whatever, right now, and what you're saying and what you're asking, how, at least I'm just asking for myself, how do I help? Like right now, I know the whole point is to have these conversations right now. And yeah, this is hard. It's hard. I know that. I bless you. So, yeah. Just, if you put it in the chat or, I just want to say I love you and I feel you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think there's another question. We're just going to try to keep the stack list if there are questions for the chat. So I think Brian Taylor was actually next up for a question, if that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Brian, you there?
Yeah, trying to shuffle around and push this unmute button. I really appreciate you coming to be a part of this podcast. And I had a question for you, but also have a comment, because I feel like there's two things that you brought home to me today. And I feel like the sheer arrogance of just cutting out the time on the tape is an example that families around the country who are trying to fight like you are should think about, because it's one more reason why we should be pressing right now to reopen cases. The arrogance of these people, there are tons of evidence in these fights, in each of these killings, that probably has been covered up, sloppily covered up, because they haven't needed to do much to hide what they've been doing to get off. And so by reopening these cases with a whole new attitude by millions of people right now who are watching these things, I really feel like a lot of these things that you stayed strong long enough to be uncovered is possible over and over and over again. And I just want to say that if you could reiterate to families, because I know some personally who have fought hard for some years, 5 years, 10 years, longer. And it seems like there is no path towards a reopening. And they get to a point which, we all can hit where, it's so painful that you want to just try to move on and reconcile. Like, there's only so much that I can say except for be there to give somebody a hug and just say, I'm here to support you, however you need to move forward. But can you just talk some more about like how you've been able to stay the course for this long of a time and still be as strong as you are on this podcast. And then the second question is just, I definitely know that there are more and more families who are trying to start to network together to do like exactly what you said, which is insist, not just hope, but insist that families' demands and desires get put as a centerpiece on a national scale, not just a local scale. What do you think about that? That effort. So I guess that's it. Thank you again for speaking.
I just feel like, as a mother and a father, something inside of you got to stay connected to that child, because I feel like when I'm at my lowest, I have to get up from where I'm at, because if I don't, I have to get up and go to my child's grave and just sit there. I really don't say a lot to him at that grave, but I have to just sit there and remind myself, you got to come to this grave to visit your child on your birthdays, on holidays. My heart is in that grave. Do you hear me? My heart is in that grave. Sometimes I feel like I'm in that grave with my child, but I know I'm still here, and I got a journey that I'm on, that I got to stay focused, and I have to keep prayed up, because my mind done told me to do some crazy stuff. My mind done told me to do a lot of stuff, but I know if I want some kind of justice, even though it's not right how they done took my child's life when he was at school, what should have been one of the safest places for him to be at, I got to still follow follow that straight line. And it gets so hard when you see them people out here took your child's life and they living. They going off to college. They having kids, enjoying themselves. But my child is in that grave. But I have to tell these other mothers, because I done talked with so many of them that they just want to give up. You can't give up. We don't have a choice. They put us on this team, and we got to stay on this. We on this team forever, but we got to stay the course. I mean, it's been some hell of a days. When I tell you some hell of a days that I thought I wasn't gonna make it, I thought I was gonna breathe my last breath, but I kept saying, Lord, I know you got me here to fight this fight for Kendrick Johnson, and I ain't going nowhere. It ain't my time. I know it ain't my time. I have to just lay there. Some days I can't even get out the bed. But I know I got a purpose in life. Kendrick, and I don't know, I feel it so deep in my Kendrick is gonna make the world change. You took his life at school in front of all these people. You felt like you were untouchable. But in the end, I'm gonna have some victory where this come at. I never had my child back, but I'm gonna have some victory with this, because I ain't going nowhere. I'm gonna stay up in their face. Every time they take it over, they can bring back how many lives they want to. And I always tell the mothers, please take you a break if you got to. It ain't really no such thing as break, because you're gonna grieve out. But vent, cry, scream, do what you have to do to get it out. But get back up to fight. Don't let that go nowhere. Don't let it take you down to where you came back. Because I done seen plenty of mothers. This grief done sent them to the hospital. This grief done broken them. They can't even get up out of the bed. This grief done broken up marriages. This grief done broken up siblings from each other. And when I tell you, this is a pain that if you have not lost a child, you will never understand. You can say, I sympathize, but you can't even sympathize with the pain that these mothers and fathers suffer. And I always say, mothers, and I'm not being selfish to the fathers, but we carry those children in our bodies. So it's something that I'm gonna say, me, I'll never get over. They say it get easier. That's one of the biggest lies they ever told. I learned to deal with it, and I deal with it every second, not on a daily basis, every second, because I can be having a good day, but I can smell Kendrick smell, or somebody can walk by me with dreads, or somebody can walk by me with a little sag in their pants, and my whole day shadow. And it's nothing I can do to get it back right, because of that love and that bond. Seeing them kids graduate from school, that took my heart, when I know my child should have been walking across that stage. Like, it's just so much that it takes you all over. But one thing I know, I stay prayed up. I stay prayed up. I have to stay prayed up to keep me sane so I can fight this fight for Kendrick Johnson.
Can I ask one more question?
Mhm.
Another thing about you that I'm learning is that you, at a certain point, you seem like you have moved, you know, because as many families as I know and try to fight around and be alongside, sometimes people end up in a spot where they end up in a loop where when they talk to the public and when they talk to people, the furthest that they can get because of the pain is really to retell the story. And part of that is because I think society has taught us basically that like people ain't gonna believe it. So I gotta tell every single aspect of the story so you know I'm telling the truth. How did you get past the point where you're just retelling the story to try to, you know, convince people, so to speak, to the point where you start asking for demands and start demanding stuff? Like, do you remember that, or how did you get to that point where you so solid on what you need and what you want beyond just, you know, the brutality that happened?
I feel like I got to the point where people have already made their decision. They're gonna believe what they want to believe. I'm not trying to change the people's mind because I feel like they done already made their decision by now. You're gonna either say it was accidental, you're gonna say it was murder, which we know it was murder. And you know, it is what it is. But I know at the end of the day, my child dead in that grave. And I know my child didn't do no dumb stuff like what them people say he done. So I'm gonna still do what I gotta do. I'm gonna tell you what I'm fighting for, the reason I'm fighting, and I'm gonna keep it pushing. Cause I ain't got to go into the details because by now you don't heard 99, I'm gonna say 99% of the people done heard Kendrick Johnson's story. And if you ain't heard it, get on there and Google it. And what you don't know, ask me. I can tell you the best of what I can give. You can't get it no better because I'm the mama.
Well, I mean, that fighting spirit you got. I mean, it's been 8 years, and I'm people like you, and you know, Gina Best, and Tawanda, like the mothers of the fight. I mean, y'all are so tenacious at this, and I really feel like you've moved this fight forward for all of us. So thank you for that. I believe we do have one more question from Crystal. So Crystal, if you're on, is that okay with you?
Yes.
Okay.
Awesome. Good evening, Ms. Johnson. How are you?
All right, and you?
Good. I just want to say thank you again for being here this evening and just absolutely shedding more light on your son's story. First of all, I recently moved to Georgia, and so I absolutely want to connect with you. I would love to take you to lunch if possible. I would love to absolutely do that for you. So let's absolutely connect after this. But my question is, I think a lot of times when police brutality happens and these murders happen, right? We end up hearing about the death, right? About the tragic loss, right? And we hear all of these stories, but can you share with us a memory of Kendrick that just really warms your heart? Because I think it's really important to remember his life as well. And I don't, you know, it's not to take away from how he left, you know, this earth in the physical form, right? But, you know, I'd love to remember the life as well. So I'd love if you have a memory you would love to share with us.
One of the memories I always share is like when Kendrick, he always played football. He loved football, basketball, and he ran track. But football was his passion in life. So he would always go to football practice after school. And when he came home, his sister had already graduated from school. So she'd be in the bed laying down asleep. So when kids would come home, he'd just go jump on her bike and he would make her so mad. She would get up and just chase him all through the house. She couldn't catch him. But it would be so funny because when he let her cut him, they would wrestle and just roll out on the floor. You know, we had so many good days. We would cook out and Kendrick would be sitting in there playing his game. And he'll close the door, man. Y'all need to hero. I'm ready to eat. You know, he's that type of person. Like he was, you know, he was funny. He'll say little smart, smirky stuff, but you know, he was like, you know, most people will say you know, every parent gonna say their child was good, but Kendrick was a good child. You know, I didn't have to go to school and I didn't have to go to school, none of my children, because they knew, like, that's how we caught when Kendrick went missing so quick, because we were a close-knit family. You're gonna let us know, you know, where you at all the time, and you're the baby of the bunch. So of course you got to let your big sisters know, your big brothers know. We want to keep up with you. We gonna know at all times, you know, where all our kids at. But definitely you, because you're the baby of the bunch. So, and then some the other thing, Kendrick, me and the other kids would be on the team, and Kendrick, his daddy would be on the team. And honey, we would wrestle through the house. We would have water fights. We didn't care about no friendship. We just loved each other. We would wrestle through that house like it wasn't no tomorrow. Furniture be flipped all up. But those were some of the, you know, the good, great memories we got in life. Just we miss him so much. I'm talking about he was like the centerpiece in our family. Like, he held us together. He thought he was the big brother. He would tell the big brothers what to do.
Come on, I love that. I love that. Thank you for sharing that. I think you know, I always loved, you know, hearing like the stories that make you smile, you know what I mean? Because it's like laughter and smiling is also part of healing as well. So I always love to, you know, hear some of those stories. So thank you for that. Kendrick sounded like such an amazing young man. So I appreciate you. I appreciate your fight. I appreciate your labor and all that good stuff. And yes, I will connect with you after, because I owe you lunch. All right.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so I think we might wrap it up with the last question. It's from Brock Satter.
Hey, Jackie. Good seeing you. I'm glad you were able to do this. I know we talked a little bit on the phone, but there was a few questions on the chat too. I just wanted to raise, but first I wanted to point out, just like in your son's case, and where we see a lot of these cases where like the primary suspect isn't necessarily a police officer, but we see the role that the police are playing in, you know, being part of the crime committed by helping cover it up. So I mean, we've seen it in the Trayvon Martin case, and most recently in Georgia, you know, around the Ahmaud Arbery case, you know. So I think it's just real important that, well, one of the questions by somebody on the chat was any new video release? I know we talked about this earlier, that you may have some new evidence that you're trying to verify. But people wanted to know, like, what can they do to support right now? I know, like, now is, you know, you raised with me, now is a good time that you're trying to step up the pressure. You know, I don't know, maybe have a rally or something like that. I don't know if you have anything in mind in the works, but and then also, like, you know, do you have like a foundation or a Cash App or something where people can support donation wise, that we can pass that information as well?
Yes, I have a Cash App. It's the KJ Foundation. And I have a GoFundMe set up. It's Justice for KJ.
Okay, we're gonna try to put that up. All right, and then I just wanted to, I mean, maybe John could talk about it more, but definitely wanted to invite you to be a part of, you know, some of the efforts that we've got underway, you know, to help the families fight, you know, be at the center of this protest movement, to focus on reopening the cases and prosecuting these killers who've been murdering our loved ones. So April 24th is a nationwide demonstration. You know, they're trying to say Chauvin at this point looks like trying to make him the one bad apple of America, but we're trying to show that, you know, this is widespread and there's a lot of families fighting for justice. So on April 24th, we're trying to have demonstrations across the country, as well as May 25th, which is the 1-year anniversary of George Floyd. But also, I talked to you. We're trying to go back to DC this time, you know, with the families in the lead, not the National Action Network and Al Sharpton, to demand these cases be reopened August 28th. So that's all I got. But thanks again for joining the call, and we'll be in touch.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, wow. Well, I don't want to get too far into it. I've read something. Did the FBI have a raid like on this kid's parents, and then also raid like their dorms?
Yes, and they do nothing.
So what we have is a secondary autopsy saying that it was not asphyxiation, rather it was a murder, and the FBI serving warrants. Loretta Lynch playing lip service. I think Kendrick's case just really shows just how unjust this justice system is. So we would really like to see you out on the 28th. Whatever we could do for you. I mean, we're gonna push the KJ Foundation. I think there was a question in the chat. They just wanted to make sure that they got the right Cash App and the right GoFundMe for. So if you could just put that in the chat, and we can make sure that the money gets to where it gotta go.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, the questions keep on coming in about that. But yeah, we'd really like to thank you for being on and sharing your story and just fighting so hard. You know, there's a lot of grief behind this, and you know, I can imagine it. But the fact that you're still there, you're still fighting. It's very powerful, and you know, I'm honored that you came on, and just really looking forward to anything we can do to help push KJ forward. And so, thanks again, Quinn.
Thank y'all for having me. And
I put on the chat. Can you send the Cash App on the chat?
okay, I will.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, with that being said, let's echo to the Mass Action Podcast. Brock, if you want to take this out.
All right, everybody. Can you hear me? All right. Yeah, just thanks again, everybody. Thank you, Jackie. For those who watched the podcast last week, you know, we focused on Black Lives Matter and some of the betrayals. We promised a round 2, so stay tuned for that. But next Friday, we haven't announced the topic yet, but we'll try to keep it, you know, cutting edge as we've been doing. And salute to all the families out here fighting, and everyone, all the honest supporters out here. We want to see an end to this, these injustices that dominate the land. Salute to all y'all. See y'all next week till we win. Mass action.
Till we win, y'all.
Thank you.
Thank you.